Thank you very much, E, and thank you for the warm introduction. Congratulations on the launch of the think tank and the research program. What you showed just now seems to be very exciting. Today, I will share some thoughts on AI governance, particularly the aspect of ethical governance of AI. And for this, I'll use a few simple slides. I hope you can see the first slide.
Yes, I can.
Great. So we are all aware of the opportunity that AI presents in pursuing the Sustainable Development Goals. To me, the most important aspect is the cross-cutting and transversal opportunity that AI offers to reinvent delivery of the goals, say the goal 3 related to health and well-being. Then there is the opportunity to make decisive interventions in a few areas. Again, from health space, the precision preventive and predictive health or pandemic surveillance that has been highlighted with the recent crisis. And another aspect of the opportunity is that this crisis has refocused attention on investments into resilience and sustainability. And the digital opportunity has been shown to be more than hype. Just as the Spanish flu mainstreamed the use of telephones, and now you have Zoom and other tools that are being used at a mass scale. But this opportunity comes with challenges. And I like to talk about these challenges through the analogy of 3 M's. So there is the missing data, particularly in low-end, middle-income countries. There is lack of data for development. There is a lack of benchmarks. And then there is the concern about misuse, about data security, ownership, privacy, misuse of data and AI in different ways. And then finally, we have this challenge of misuse, where the data is there, the expertise is there, but because of poor quality data sets or lack of interoperability or zero-sum views of data and AI, we are not able to utilize this opportunity. And there is the trust aspect in the misuse, which is particularly evident these days. And I'll speak a little bit about this in the ensuing minutes. If we look at the governance challenge overall, before coming to the specific aspects of using ethics to govern AI technologies, using ethics to build trust, we see these specific governance challenges. First of all is this issue of fragmentation. You mentioned the UNSG's panel, so this was one of the topmost concerns within the panel. The growing science data nationalism that we see, the tech wars that we see. And the second issue is hype. So AI models are used to claim a lot of things, which leaves leaders confused, whether to govern them right now and with a heavy-handed way, or to wait till the hype is realized, etc. Then the challenge related to centralization of governance approaches, as against distributed governance that respects the prerogative of national governments and local communities on data and on development of technology, and that in particular allows the emerging geographies of innovation in Asia and Africa to play their own role. These emerging geographies are not well represented in current governance discussion. So if you centralize the governance discussion, they are at a disadvantage. And then I like to talk about the problem of innovation in governance. So if you have just the established players and a select number of organizations playing the role of the governors of AI technology, then you discourage innovation at the edge. And there is a problem of prematurely declaring consensus when you've not worked through all the problems. And at a very basic level, there is a lack of AI governance capacity. Even the basic cross-domain understanding of the use of data and AI, for example, in health, is lacking. And then finally, we have a surfeit of policy principles and abstractions. A lot of good work has been done on principles. You mentioned our recent work in the UNESCO ad hoc group, but we need to follow this up with concrete ways of bringing values and principles alive. And we need to back this up with evidence. So these proposed soft governance solutions have to be backed by evidence. This brings me to the main point of my talk today, which is that technology is never value free. It is never neutral like water and does not take on the taste or characteristics of whatever we add to it. In fact, it reflects our hierarchy of ethical preferences. It reflects our inherent values. And therefore, values and principles can help build a culture of ethics. And values-driven technology development and governance can create a virtuous cycle of values, ethical conduct, and driving trust in technology and its governance. Now, how do we take values and principles to policies and actions? So I have listed a few points here. On the left-hand side, you see how values and principles can make a practical impact. They can channel international norms across nations. They can help extend governance into early and more ambiguous parts of the technology development cycle where laws are not present or hard governance approaches are not yet available, and they can be more flexibly deployed across cultures and borders. However, on the right, I've listed some essential points before we can move from values and principles to practical policies and actions. Values and principles need to be discovered in each context and linked clearly to governance outcomes. They need to reflect the diversity of the world that we live in. They need to be transparent so as to avoid an ethics wash. And they should not be used to centralize decision making on governance. Finally, in my last slide, I want to talk to you about some practical ethical values that can anchor AI from the early stages of technology development to deployment and use. The very first value that I want to talk about is a Hebrew term called tikkun olam, which literally translates to fixing the world. So we see a lot of problems in the world, and the SDGs are a way of capturing how to fix those problems. So this is an important aspect of the use of AI for good. The other aspect is coming from the Greek term eudaimonia, which is human flourishing. So this is about health, happiness, prosperity. It is what lies beneath our aspirations for economic growth and societal well-being. These two together are very much reflected in AI uses today. But I think to balance them out, we need three other values, which are essential for a holistic ethical approach to AI. The first one is the Chinese concept of heixie, or harmony. So AI should not be used to create conflict within society or across societies. It should not be used to undermine human rights and fundamental freedoms. In fact, it should allow people to come together to solve problems and promote human flourishing. The other aspect is the African philosophical value of Ubuntu, which is that I am what I am because of what you are. So whatever I do affects everyone. So this promotes a sense of responsibility, a sense of community, the sense of human community in terms of our approach to AI. And finally, I would like to mention a value from India, which is pratyahar, which is a Sanskrit term, which means turning inward. It's not turning inward in the sense of shutting yourself off from the world, but it is realizing that intelligence is not mind stuff, that I am not my senses, and I can go inward and find my true nature. This, to my mind, is the ultimate guarantee against being deluded by AI and losing our agency over technology. So I thank you for this opportunity to talk about earning trust in AI use through ethical approaches, and I look forward to the questions and comments.
Thank you, Amandeep, for this wonderful talk. I would like to remember everyone what Amandeep says in the last slide, and I would like to share a very short story when me and Amandeep were interacting through the UNESCO ad hoc expert group on AI ethics. That when we are talking about harmony, and then people say that, oh, this is very non-Western value, which is good because this is the work from UNESCO. And in this case, many people like it. And then somebody jumped in saying, hey, this is not only from China, this is also, I said this is also from Japan and Korea. And somebody says, this is very deeply rooted into South African philosophy, which for myself learned a lot. Well, because to the minimum of my knowledge for this, I never know that living in harmony has a deep root, has been deep rooted into South African philosophy. So this is, and when we talk about AI policy that support AI ethics, we were talking about cultural heritage. And my recommendation and idea was like, we do not necessary to stop as cultural heritage, but we need to promote cultural interactions, because underlying our philosophy and vision in many different cultures, we have very similar ideas that don't talk to each other for quite some time, but what actually the spirit do share. So in this case, when we get to know our idea in different perspective, and actually you will find that there's not so much difference, but more of a consensus. Thank you for what Amandeep has contributed to this exploration. For now, I didn't see specific questions, and then let's move on. But for the speakers, I would like to invite all of you, if your time permits, to participate in the later section on the linking East and West efforts for AI ethics, governance, and sustainability. Thank you if you can do that.